Good afternoon, everyone. I call to order today's meeting of the Boston City Council. Viewers can watch the council meeting live on YouTube at boston.gov/city-council-TV. At this time, I ask my colleagues and those in the audience to please silence their cell phones and electronic devices. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll to ascertain the presence of a quorum?
Councilor Brady. Here. Councilor Coletta. Here. Councilor Durden. Here. Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Here. Councilor Fitzgerald. Here. Councilor Flynn. Here. Councilor Lujan.
Here.
Councilor Mejia. Here. Councilor Murphy. Here. Councilor Pepin. Here. Councilor Santana. Here. Councilor Weber. Here. And Councilor Worrell. Quorum is present.
Thank you. I have been informed by the clerk that a quorum is present. It is my pleasure to introduce this week's clergy, Father Rick Walsh from the Paulus Center, invited by Councilor Fitzgerald. Councilor Fitzgerald, would you like to come up to the podium with your guest? Reminder, I would ask councilors and all guests in chambers, once the invocation begins, to please rise and remain standing as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilor Fitzgerald, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. Esteemed colleagues, people in the chamber, Reverend Broderick Walsh, Congregation of St. Paul, is a Paulist priest who serves as the local superior of the Father's House on Park Street in Boston. Father Rick is something of a rarity in that he was born in Gloucester on the North Shore, but was raised in Weymouth on the South Shore. His father, Michael, hailed from South Boston, and his mother was born in Ireland and lived in Dorchester prior to marriage. Among his cousins are the late Father Michael Walsh from the Society of Jesus, president of Boston College, the late Honorable Joseph Feeney, Chief Justice of the Boston Municipal Court, and General Joseph Dunford, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Father Rick earned his Master of Divinity degree from the Catholic University of America and has served throughout the United States and Canada. He previously served as chaplain to the Massachusetts House of Representatives and most recently served as the pastor of St. Paul the Apostle Church at Lincoln Center in New York City, prior to returning to the Bay State, which we're happy to note that he is happy to be living back in Boston. So thank you, Father Rick. Podium is yours.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we ask for your continued blessing upon your civil servants, our elected officials who are gathered in this council chamber. We are mindful of the many events that have occurred over the years in our historic city, and today we remember the publication of the anti-slavery novel Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. It was published on this date by the John Jewett Publishing Company here in Boston in 1852. The novel sold 3,000 copies on that day alone and soon sold out its complete print run. In the first year after it was published, 300,000 copies of the book were sold in the United States. We give thanks for the author and this book, which served to awaken the American people to the evils of slavery. Gracious God, watch over the deliberations of our city councilors and help all who work in this building to reach out in service to their fellow Bostonians. Amen.
We'll now recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Father Rick Walsh, for those wonderful words, and thank you, Councilor Fitzgerald, for inviting him. We will now have a brief presentation from Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you now, let the record reflect that Councilor Brian Worrell is now present, Mr. Clerk.
Yes.
Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for giving us this impromptu opportunity to recognize women of faith who showed up today here in City Hall for a series that we're doing here in the chamber once a month, where we create space for us to be in prayer and community with each other. And in honor of Women's History Month, we had women in faith leaders praying over the city council. So I'd like to grab an opportunity to just uplift something that President Council said during our time together that I think it's important for us to bring here into this chamber, is that so many of us, the work that we do is to be of service. And we're usually taking care of those who are often are in the need of most, right? So our poorest are those who are suffering the most. As city councilors, our job is to serve the public, and we're not elected officials or politicians. What we are public servants. And if we continue to remind ourselves of what an honor it is to be of service every single day, it'll be easier for us to do this work in the spirit of recognizing who it is that we're here to serve, and those are the people. And so just wanted to uplift that. We do have some surprise citations. We have two people that we want to recognize here today. The first is Nancy Delgado, in recognition of a remarkable journey of service and dedication to your community over the past 10 years. Just come on down. For loving your neighbors and putting your faith in action to serve others in need. For your unwavering commitment that has touched the lives of many. Nancy Delgado, who I actually have known since I was like 9 or 10. This is so crazy that our worlds have come back together, and to see you in this role serving so many is such a blessing to see. The next one is another surprise. This individual did not anticipate being recognized, but this is without any surprise to anyone here. This individual is being recognized for empowering underserved communities in Boston through education and advocacy and leadership, for creating space to bring people together to foster collaboration for the betterment to those that we serve. Miss Priscilla Flint, please come on down. I know you were surprised, and while you're making your way down to the stage, I'm going to ask the women that were with us here today, las mujeres que estaban aquí con nosotros hoy, que por favor vengan para acá abajo para tirar una foto toditos juntas. Vengan para acá. That's right. That means, in translation, come on down, ladies that were in faith here praying for us today. That's right, Miss June. Come on down. You are the next contestant on The Prayer is Right. Remember, the Councilor President did say this was quick, and I was not scheduled to speak, so make sure that y'all don't take my opportunities away. So hurry up, come on down. Desen rápido. Vamos, 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 vamos. Yes. Okay. All right. I'm going to ask Priscilla. One of the reasons why we are doing this here once a month is because Ms. Flint had reached out to our office and said it was time to bring prayer back into City Hall. They used to do this all the time, so a lot of the work that we're doing is inspired by Ms. Flint, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to say a few words.
Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. I thank, Julia, I'm going to get you. I'm lost for words. I'm thankful and grateful. For those that don't know, we have prayer here in City Hall every Tuesday from 1 to 2 for 5 years down in the Curly Room. And with everything that's been going on in the world, in the city, and the state, the Spirit says it's time to go back to prayer in City Hall. And so that's why we're here. We're thankful. We're grateful for Julia, our city councilor. She shows up, y'all. She shows up. And we got Ruthie on the other side. So I'm just thankful. I'm grateful. I love you all. And we're going to make some changes in the city. Trust me. Prayer changes things.
We're going to take a quick picture. Pónganse ahí adelante para que estén más bonitas, para que se vean todo el flow que tienen hoy. And I want to, right over ahí adelante, yes. And thank you to my colleagues for your patience. And I definitely want to thank President Council Louis Jean for giving us an opportunity to recognize these women. Come on, colleagues.
Thank you again, Councilors Fitzgerald and Councilor Mejia. We are now on to the first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes from the meeting of March 13th, 2024. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The minutes of the last meeting are approved. We are now on to communications from Her Honor the Mayor. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0529?
Docket number 0529, message in order for your approval, a home rule petition to the General Court entitled Petition for a Special Law relative to the creation of a branch of the Boston Public Library within an affordable housing development in the downtown section of the city of Boston, filed in the office of the city clerk on March 18th, 2024.
Thank you. Docket number 0529 will be referred to the Committee on Government Operations. Mr. Clerk, would you please read dockets number 0530 to 0533 together?
Docket number 0530, message in order for your approval in order to reduce the fiscal year 24 appropriation for the reserve for collective bargaining by $7,767,193 to provide funding for the Boston Police Department for the fiscal year 24 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Boston Police Detectives Benevolent Society. Docket number 0531, message in order for a supplemental appropriation order for various departments for the fiscal year 24 in the amount of $7,767,193 to cover fiscal year 24 cost items contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Boston Police Detectives Benevolent Society. The terms of the contract are July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023, and July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025. The major provisions for the contract include base wage increases of 2%, 1%, and 2.5% to be given in July of each fiscal year of the contract term, as well as the addition of the transitional career in July 2023. The contract also contains reforms relating to discipline, officer return to duty, paid detail system, and union release, filed in the office of the city clerk on March 18, 2024. Docket number 0532, message in order for your approval in order to reduce fiscal year 24 appropriation for the reserve for collective bargaining by $34,294 to provide funding for a city department for the fiscal year 24 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Office and Professional Employees International Union Local 6. Docket number 0533, message in order for a supplemental appropriation for various departments for fiscal year 24 in the amount of $34,294 to cover the fiscal year 24 cost items contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Office and Professional Employees International Union, Local 6. The terms of the contract are July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2027. The major provisions for the contract include base wage increases of 2% to be given in October of each fiscal year of the contract term, and flat amounts of $500, $250, $900, and $800 to be added to annual salaries in January of each fiscal year. Filed in the office of the city clerk, March 18, 2024. And docket number, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Dockets number 0530 to 0533 will be referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. Mr. Clerk, would you please read dockets number 0534 through 0542?
Docket number 0534, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Saman Kumahia as a member of the Bay Village Historic District Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2025. Docket numbers 0535, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Franklin Ross as a member of the Back Bay Architectural District Commission for a term expiring March 18, 2029. Docket number 0536, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Fadi Samaha as a member of the Highland Park Architectural Conservation District Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2025. Docket number 0537, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Selena Barrios Milner as a member of the Highland Park Architectural Conservation District Commission for a term expiring February 5th, 2027. Docket number 0538, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Lindsay Marie Mack Jones as a commissioner of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring March 18, 2027. Docket number 0539, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of John Omadeo as a commissioner of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2024. Docket number 0540, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Fadi Samaha as a commissioner for the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2025. Docket number 0541, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Selena Barrios Milner as a commissioner for the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring February 5th, 2027. And docket number 0542, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Michael Woodall as a member of the Boston Water and Sewer Commission for a term expiring January 3rd, 2028.
Thank you. Dockets number 0534 through 0542 will be referred to the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation. We are now on to reports of public officers and others. Mr. Clerk, would you please read dockets number 0543 through 0545?
Docket number 0543, notice was received from the mayor of the appointment of Mariama White Hammond as a member of the task force on the study on City of Boston reparations, effective immediately. Docket number 0544, notice was received from the city clerk in accordance with Chapter 6 of the ordinances of 1979, relative to action taken by the mayor on papers acted upon by the city council at its meeting on March 6, 2024. Docket number 0545, notice was received from the city clerk in accordance with Chapter 6 of the ordinances of 1979, relative to action taken by the mayor on papers acted upon by the city council at its meeting on February 7, 2024.
Thank you. Dockets number 0543 through 0545 will be placed on file. Mr. Clerk, would you please read dockets number 0546 and 0547?
Docket number 0546, communication was received from the city clerk transmitting a communication from the Boston Landmarks Commission for city council action on the designation of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Building, 133 Federal Street, Boston, Mass. As a landmark, in effect after April 20th, 2024, if not acted upon. And docket number 0547, communication was received from the city clerk transmitting a communication from the Boston Landmarks Commission for city council action on the designation of the Hutchinson Building, 29 Bromfield Street, Boston, Mass. As a landmark, in effect after April 20th, 2024, if not acted upon.
Thank you. Dockets number 0546 and 0547 will be referred to the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation. Mr. Clerk, would you please read dockets number 0548 through 0550?
Docket number 0548, communication was received from the city clerk of the filing of the Boston Residency Compliance Commission regarding an updated annual report, January through December 2022. Docket number 0549, communication was received from Nicholas Arenello, Assessing Commissioner, of the appointment of Kidani Abadi as the Director of Assessing Services for the Personal Property Unit. And docket number 0550, communication was received from the city clerk of the filing by the Boston Planning and Development Agency regarding proposed minor modification to the Washington Park Urban Renewal Area, project number Mass R-24, with respect to L-49 and L-50.
Thank you. Dockets number 0548 through number 0550 will be placed on file. We are now on to reports of committees. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0171?
Docket number 0171, the Committee on Government Operations, to which was referred on January 24th, 2024. Docket number 0171, home rule petition to ensure future inauguration dates do not fall on a federal holiday. Submits a report recommending that the docket ought to pass in a new draft.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Councilor Coletta, you now have, the chair recognizes Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam President. The Committee on Government Operations was referred docket number 0171, home rule petition to ensure future inauguration dates do not fall on a federal holiday on January 24th. This matter was sponsored by Councilor Brian Worrell. The purpose of this docket is to ensure that City of Boston employees will not be required to work on the federally observed holiday for January 1st, New Year's Day, solely to participate and facilitate City Council and/or mayoral inaugurations, the commencement of the municipal year. Currently, the federally observed holiday for New Year's Day can fall anywhere from December 31st to January 2nd. At the same time, every few years, select city employees are required to work on the federally observed holiday for New Year's Day due to Sections 8 and 9 of the City Charter, which require elected terms and the city's municipal year commence the first Monday in January. The docket seeks to accomplish its purpose by petitioning the legislature to approve the proposed amendments to Sections 8 and 9 of the City Charter, which would change requirements under both sections, instead declaring that the terms of office for all elected officers in office terminate at 10 a.m. on the first weekday after the second day in January following the municipal election, and further, that the municipal year shall begin on the first weekday after the second day in January. The committee held a working session on March 15th, 2024. I was joined by the sponsor, Councilor Brian Worrell, and Councilor Fitzgerald, and received 2 absence letters from Council President Louis Jean and another one from Councilor Fernandez Anderson. The committee reviewed the language of the ordinance section by section, line by line. With regard to Section 1 and Section 2, it was decided that both sections will be amended to strike the first sentence citing the City Charter and replace it with the section for the special acts passed by the General Court that created the section of the City Charter. It was decided that Section 2 would be further amended to ensure that the first Monday of January is struck and replaced in each place it appears, to ensure that the municipal year runs from the first weekday after the second day in January through the first weekday after the second day in January. There's a summary of amendments that's included in the committee report. You all could review it in its entirety. But as the chair of the Committee on Government Operations, to which the following was referred, docket 0171, home rule petition to ensure future inauguration dates do not fall on a federal holiday, I submit a report recommending that this docket ought to pass in a new draft, but now I'd like to pass it over to the lead sponsor if he has any remarks, and thank you so much, Council President.
Thank you, Chair Coletta. The chair recognizes Councilor Orell. Councilor Orell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the chair for hosting the working session. This year, our first responders had to staff the city's inauguration 10 hours after 2 events that require significant public safety resources, first night and New Year's Eve. That's too great of a strain to put on Boston public safety professionals. In other years, inaugurations happen as late as January 7th. This home rule position solved for both problems, updating a centuries-old document with the easy fix that will ensure that this body will get to work earlier by moving inauguration to happen between January 3rd and the 5th, which is more in line with federal standards and should increase civic engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Orell. Thank you, and thank you, Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, the chair of the Committee on Government Operations, seeks acceptance of the committee report and passage of docket number 0171. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. That's the vote. Mr. Clerk, will you please do a roll call vote?
Roll call vote on docket number 0171. Councilor Braden. Yes. Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta. Yes. Councilor Durkin. Councilor Durkin, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald. Yes. Councilor Fitzgerald, yes. Councilor Flynn. No. Councilor Flynn, no. Councilor Louis Jean.
Yes.
Councilor Louis Jean, yes. Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, C. Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy, no. Councilor Pepin. Yes. Councilor Pepin, yes. Councilor Santana. Yes. Councilor Santana, yes. Councilor Weber. Yes. Councilor Weber, yes. And Councilor Worrell. Yes. Councilor Worrell, yes. Docket number 0171 has received 11 votes in the affirmative and 2 votes in the negative.
Thank you. The committee report on docket number 0171 has passed in a new draft. Thank you, Councilor Orell, and thank you to all of Central staff and to our staffers who worked hard on January 1st, and this will really help to alleviate that. So thank you so much, Councilor Ora. We are now on to matters recent, and also you were the one who suggested that they be given a day off, and I just think that I wanted to elevate that as Vice President of the Council for your leadership in that respect, so thank you. We are now on to matters recently heard for possible action. Mr. Clerk, please read docket number 0257.
Docket number 0257, message in order for your approval, an ordinance creating the Planning Department in the City of Boston.
The Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on Government Operations, Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. The Committee of Government Operations held a working session on docket 0257 on Monday morning. This is an ordinance sponsored by the Mayor establishing a planning department in the City of Boston. I was joined by my colleagues, Councilor Murphy, Louis-Jean, Santana, Mejia, Durkin, Fernandez, Anderson, Flynn, Weber, and Worrell. The over 3-hour working session consisted of reviewing a number of amendments to the original document. These amendments consisted of my own in addition to those submitted by the date in which I specified for them to be in consideration at this working session. We are progressing in a number of areas where both the community and my colleagues have asked to prioritize. This includes financial oversight and transparency through mandated reporting, council oversight over initial approvals, and accountability mechanisms, including a push for an annual report, as well as a mandated council hearing and a potential assessment in partnership with an objective, independent research entity. While there is progress, there are final stipulations that require additional conversation. So in the spirit of transparency and good faith collaboration, this docket will remain in committee, and a working session has been publicly noticed this morning, or it was publicly noticed this morning for Friday morning at 10 a.m. Thank you, and I'm seeking that this stay in committee.
Thank you. Docket number 0257 will remain in committee. Mr. Clerk, please read docket number 0256.
Docket number 0256, message in order for your approval, an ordinance amending City of Boston Code, ordinances Chapter 12, Section 12-3.5, Senior Citizen Property Tax Work-Off Abatement.
Thank you. The Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on Government Operations, Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Much, Madam President. We held a hearing reviewing changes to an existing ordinance for a lovely program that provides opportunities for seniors to volunteer, give back to the City of Boston in lieu of paying off some of their property taxes. And this was something that was championed by then Councilor Consalvo in 2006. Shout out to Hyde Park. Where we opted into this program. This is something that lives in state law. And what this ordinance seeks to do is strike all existing text in the current ordinance and replace it with an update of the name of the program, changing it from senior citizens and replacing with older adults. I think folks can appreciate that. Increases the work-off amount, expands eligibility guidelines, removes the caps on participants, and makes the program permanent so that we don't have to keep doing these extensions. Within the hearing, there was robust conversation about outreach to seniors to inform them of the program, how much the expansion of the abatement will cost, and how Age Strong intends to provide seniors with disabilities with accommodations and more resources for those that don't speak English. I am keeping this in committee because there was a great suggestion made by Councilor Flynn to allow for special considerations for former public employees. And so we're looking into the legalities around that and crafting a stipulation that would provide the most benefit for those that need it the most, that are either city or state employees. So my goal is for this to remain in committee, but for not long, because this is a great program, just to review some of those recommendations. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Thank you. Docket number 0256 will remain in committee. Mr. Clerk, would you please read dockets number 0338 through 03401 and dockets 059 and 0460 together?
Docket number 0338, message in order for your approval in order to reduce fiscal year 24 appropriation for the reserve for collective bargaining by $1,203,751 to provide funding for various city departments for the fiscal year 24 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 93. Docket number 0339, message in order for a supplemental appropriation for various departments for the fiscal year 24 in the amount of $1,203,751 to cover the fiscal year 24 cost items contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 93. The terms of the contracts are July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2027. The major provisions for the contract include base wage increases of 2% to be given in July of each fiscal year of the contract term, and a flat amount of $500, $250, $900, and $800 to be added to the annual salaries in January of each fiscal year. The agreement also includes changes to personal days, an increase in clothing allowance, and training funds, and increases to certain differentials. Filed in the Office of the City Clerk, February 12, 2024. Docket number 0340, message in order for your approval in order to reduce fiscal year 24 appropriation for the Reserve for Collective Bargaining by $647,254 to provide funding for various city departments for the fiscal year 24 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Service Employees International Union, Local 888. Docket number 0341, message in order for a supplemental appropriation for various departments for the fiscal year 24 in the amount of $647,254 to cover the fiscal year 24 cost items contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Service Employees International Union. The terms of the contract are July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2027. The major provisions for the contract include base wage increases of 2% to be given in January of each fiscal year of the contract term, and a flat amount of $500, $250, $900, and $750 to be added to annual salaries in January of each fiscal year after the percentage increase. The agreement also includes an expansion of the clothing allowance, an increase to the weekend differential, and compensation reviews of certain position groups. Filed in the Office of the City Clerk, filed on February 12, 2024. Docket number 0459, message in order for your approval in order to reduce the fiscal 24 appropriation for the Reserve for Collective Bargaining by $2,945 to provide funding for the Boston Police Department for fiscal year 24 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the New York Typographical Union, CWA Local 14156. And docket number 0460, message in order for a supplemental appropriation for fiscal year 24 in the amount of $2,945 to cover the fiscal year 24 costs contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the New York Typographical Union, CWA Local 14156. The terms of the contract are July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2027. The major provisions of the contract include base wage increases of 2% to be given in January of each fiscal year of the contract term, and a flat amount of $500, $250, $900, and $800 to be added to the annual salaries in January of each fiscal year after the 2% increase. Filed in the Office of the City Clerk on March 4th, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, for all of that reading. Appreciate it. The chair recognizes Brian Worrell, the chair of Ways and Means. Councilor Worrell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And before I start, I just want to give a big shout out to all the union reps here today, Tiger Stockbridge and Eddie Nastari. Thank you for being here in attendance. The Committee on Ways and Means, and thank you for all your hard work for the City of Boston and constantly advocating for our city employees. The Committee on Ways and Means was referred the following dockets for consideration. I will just give you a high-level overview of these orders. The dockets involve collective bargaining agreements with the ACME, SEIU, and the New York Typographical Union, which is BPD's graphic designers. Each agreement spans from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2027, with estimated costs outlined. Major provisions of each agreement include base wage increases, additional salary amounts, changes to allowances and differentials, and compensation reviews for certain positions. The committee was joined by Jen Williamson, the Budget Director for the City of Boston, and Renee Bushy, Director of Labor Relations. I was also joined by my colleagues, Council Flynn, Council President Louis Jen, Council Coletta, Council Pepin, Council Murphy, Council Mejia, Council Weber, Council Durkin, and Council Anderson. I believe we was also joined by Council Mejia as well. Mr. Williamson noted that since July 2023, 7 collective bargaining agreements have been approved, settling roughly 45% of contracts and approximately 82% of membership, including BTU. Ms. Bushy highlighted that these contracts aim to address the needs of the lowest wage workers, providing a 2% across-the-board increase with flat amount raises. She emphasized that this approach benefits lower wage workers proportionally more than higher salary ones, and is a precedent that the city is looking to replicate as it negotiates with other unions. Notably, AFSCME and SEIU saw increases of 12.5% and 12.6% respectively over 4 years, with a significant proportion of members receiving 3% or higher. The contracts actually also included provisions for bereavement and paid sick leave for probationary employees. The issues raised by my colleagues included ensuring a living wage for all city workers, specialized rates for weather-related and overtime work, child care and education opportunities, and equity and promotions. As chair of the Committee on Ways and Means, I recommend moving the listed documents from the committee to the full council for discussion and formal action. At that time, I recommend recommendation to the full council with this matter ought to pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We will take each docket one by one. Just one moment. Okay, the first docket. The Chair of the Committee on Ways and Means seeks acceptance of the committee report and passage of docket number 0338. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Without the vote, Mr. Clerk, will you please do a roll call vote?
Roll call vote on docket number 0338. Councilor Braden. Yes. Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta. Yes. Councilor Coletta, yes. Councilor Durkin. Yes. Councilor Durkin, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald. Yes. Councilor Fitzgerald, yes. Councilor Flynn. Yes. Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Louisian.
Yes.
Councilor Louisian, yes. Councilor Mejia. Yes. Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy, yes. Councilor Pepin. Yes. Councilor Pepin, yes. Councilor Santana. Yes. Councilor Santana, yes. Councilor Weber. Yes. Councilor Weber, yes. And Councilor Worrell. Yes. Councilor Worrell, yes. Docket number 0338 has received a unanimous vote in the affirmative.
Thank you. The committee report on docket number 0338 has passed. This is the one for AFSCME Council 93, and I know that we have the president here with us. We have the bargaining unit, and I know that they want to say thank you to the council. I think it's the thank you goes your way for advocating for such significant wage increases. We're still not there, but we're getting closer to a living wage for our workers. And I know that you want to say, you and Eddie and Tom and everyone wanted to say thank you, and also on behalf of the citywide bargaining unit, thanks to us, but really it's thanks to you for the work that you do. So thank you and congratulations. The Chair of the Committee on Ways and Means seeks acceptance of the committee report and passage of docket number 0339. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Mr. Clerk, will you please do a roll call vote?
Roll call vote on docket number 0339. Councilor Braden. Yes. Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta. Yes. Councilor Coletta, yes. Councilor Durkin. Yes. Councilor Durkin, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald. Yes. Councilor Fitzgerald, yes. Councilor Flynn. Yes. Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Louisian.
Yes.
Councilor Louisian, yes. Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy, yes. Councilor Pepin. Yes. Councilor Pepin, yes. Councilor Santana. Yes. Councilor Santana, yes. Councilor Weber. Yes. Councilor Weber, yes. And Councilor Worrell. Yes. Councilor Worrell, yes. Docket number 0339 has received a unanimous vote in the affirmative.
Thank you. And those two dockets were both for AFSCME 0338 and 0339. The Chair of the Committee on Ways and Means seeks acceptance of the committee report and passage of docket number 0340. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Mr. Clerk, will you please do a roll call vote?
Roll call vote on docket number 0340. Councilor Braden. Yes. Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta. Yes. Councilor Coletta, yes. Councilor Durkin. Yes. Council Durkin, yes. Council Fernandez Anderson. Council Fernandez Anderson, yes. Council Fitzgerald. Council Fitzgerald, yes. Council Flynn. Council Flynn, yes. Council Lujan.
Yes.
Council Lujan, yes. Council Mejia. Council Mejia, yes. Council Murphy. Councilor Murphy, yes. Council Pepper. Council Pepin, yes. Council Santana. Council Santana, yes. Council Weber. Councilor Weber, yes. And Council Worrell. Council Worrell, yes. Docket number 0340 has received a unanimous vote in the affirmative.
Thank you. The committee report on docket number 0340 has passed. The chair of the Committee on Ways and Means seeks acceptance of the committee report and passage of docket number 0341. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Mr. Clerk, will you please do a roll call vote?
Roll call vote on docket 0341. Councilor Braden. Yes. Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta. Yes. Councilor Coletta, yes. Councilor Durkin. Yes. Councilor Durkin, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald. Councilor Fitzgerald, yes. Councilor Flynn. Yes. Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Lujan.
Yes.
Councilor Lujan, yes. Councilor Mejia. Yes. Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy, yes. Councilor Pepin. Yes. Councilor Pepin, yes. Councilor Santana. Councilor Santana, yes. Councilor Weber. Yes. Councilor Weber, yes. And Councilor Worrell. Yes. Councilor Worrell, yes. Docket number 0341 has received a unanimous vote in the affirmative.
Thank you. The committee report on docket number 0341 has passed. The chair of the Committee on Ways and Means seeks acceptance of the committee report and passage of docket number 0459. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Mr. Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Roll call vote on docket number 0459. Councilor Braden. Yes. Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta. Yes. Councilor Coletta, yes. Councilor Durkin. Yes. Councilor Durkin, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald. Yes. Councilor Fitzgerald, yes. Councilor Flynn. Yes. Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Lujan.
Yes.
Councilor Lujan, yes. Councilor Mejia. Yes. Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy, yes. Councilor Pepin. Yes. Councilor Pepin, yes. Councilor Santana. Yes. Councilor Santana, yes. Councilor Weber. Yes. Councilor Weber, yes. And Councilor Worrell. Yes. Councilor Worrell, yes. Docket number 0459 has received a unanimous vote in the affirmative.
Thank you. The committee report on docket number 0459 has passed. The chair of the Committee on Ways and Means seeks acceptance of the committee report and passage of docket number 0460. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Mr. Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Roll call vote on docket number 0460. Councilor Braden. Yes. Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta. Yes. Councilor Coletta, yes. Councilor Durkin. Yes. Councilor Durkin, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald. Yes. Councilor Fitzgerald, yes. Councilor Flynn. Yes. Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Lujan.
Yes.
Councilor Lujan, yes. Councilor Mejia. Yes. Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy. Yes. Councilor Murphy, yes. Councilor Pepin. Yes. Councilor Pepin, yes. Councilor Santana. Yes. Councilor Santana, yes. Councilor Weber. Yes. Councilor Weber, yes. And Councilor Worrell. Yes. Councilor Worrell, yes. Docket number 0460 has received a unanimous vote in the affirmative.
Thank you. The committee report on docket number 0460 has passed. We are now on to motions, orders, and resolutions. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0551?
Docket number 0551. Councilors Weber and Fitzgerald offer the following. Order for a hearing to review resources and organization of youth sports across Boston.
The chair recognizes Councilor Weber. Councilor Weber, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Henry Santana as a third co-sponsor.
Councilor Weber seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Santana as an original third co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Santana is so added. Councilor Weber, you have the floor.
There once was a small boy from Jamaica Plain who dreamed of playing for the Celtics. He learned how to shoot jumpers in the parks and gyms of the neighborhood and went on to play for his high school basketball team. That boy learned the game because he had access to good facilities and coaching. And according to his brother, while he wasn't much of a football player, he had a great mid-range jump shot. That boy grew up to be District 3 City Councilor John Fitzgerald. Indeed, a lot of the councilors here participated in sports as kids, and I don't think that's a coincidence. As a very amateur youth soccer coach and a parent, I have seen firsthand the benefits our kids get from participating in sports. I've been active in JPU soccer for the last 5 to 6 years. The friendships built on our teams cross class and racial lines. They build community, and the kids form bonds that last into the off-season. We introduced this hearing order as an opportunity to have a discussion with the administration to learn more about their programs and efforts, what issues they have found are predominant, from youth programming to the lack of funding for high school athletes, as highlighted by the work of Councillor Murphy. And for us as a council to offer insight into what we are hearing from parents and children across the city. Over the past year, the mayor's administration has shown a commitment to expanding youth sports opportunities. Examples include the free swim lesson program, which is available to all Boston residents from 6 months to 18 years old, and the return of the Mayor's Cup. I know that the mayor and Parks Commissioner Ryan Woods have a youth sports fair and later a girls flag football clinic, both happening soon at Carter Playground. I also know a survey is being conducted by the city to determine how young people become involved in sports, as well as an audit of sports facilities, which are all important as we look to invest in our youth. I look forward to working with them and to expand these opportunities around the city and hopefully in all 9 city council districts. This council has also fought for expanded access for our kids, again, long led by Councillor Erin Murphy. We are at a crossroads when it comes to our kids. The proposed redevelopment of White Stadium would potentially triple the amount of hours available to BPS students. It would make the track usable for track and field athletes to practice and run meets. There are issues with traffic and noise and community access. A lawsuit may stop the development from going forward. But we can't simply ignore the needs of our kids, whether it involves a track and soccer field at White Stadium or the proposed street hockey rink in Billings Field in West Roxbury. This hearing is an opportunity to highlight the opportunities we have to give our kids fair access to sports. Economic barriers have prevented low-income families from participating in organized sports. With the introduction of the private club system in soccer, some families have to pay thousands of dollars just to have access to the top coaches. Meanwhile, a lack of adequate facilities has limited access to BPS students and young people at large, as we know from Councillor Murphy's recent hearing on the overwhelming demand for track time at the Reggie Lewis Center. As Councillor Durkin's resolution today recognizing Boston Latin School's state hockey championship shows, we can have success here in Boston, but that team would not have been successful without the infrastructure needed for hockey time, for practice, for coaches, for equipment. In my district, we have the track at English High School, which is currently not safe for use. I know from my experience as a coach that programs such as JPU Soccer have to pay for lights and to rent a porta potty during the season, which adds cost to families. We should be helping youth organizations access fields, equipment, and the infrastructure they need. I appreciate the opportunity to work with my co-sponsors and the rest of the council, who all bring different experiences and issues regarding youth sports. Hope that all my fellow councilors would join me in learning more, offering insight, and sharing the experience of children in their districts to better inform the city's efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Weber. The chair recognizes Councilor Fitzgerald. Councilor Fitzgerald, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And Councilor Weber, if your game was a correlation to your future profession, I'd be in the Bricklayers Union. And so he got it. But I appreciate the shout out, sir. So I'm excited to be a part of this bill because I do believe in the 3 pillars of any good functioning society is there's academics, there's arts, and there's athletics. And if you can know your history, if you can play an instrument, learn a language, play a sport, if you can do those things in any capacity, you're going to be a good person, right? And you're going to have success in life. And so I think this lends to one of those pillars, which is making sure that we have the opportunity for our youth to play organized sports. I know as well, in talking about the organization around it, Councilor Weber, if you have ever signed up for youth sports, you have to clear your schedule for that day. right? You have to say, okay, what times are things going to happen? You kind of have to do a who is Pepe Sylvia type thing of saying, when can I get to what practices at what time, and how can I make sure, does it overlap? And the soccer signups are before basketball, and they say they want to play soccer, and then when it comes, they don't, but basketball's at the same time. And so a lot of things that go into a family trying to figure out how to get their kids access to sports and making sure that they can follow through. And so I think this is a good way to look at the organization and make sure the opportunity is there for all, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fitzgerald. The chair recognizes Councilor Santana. Councilor Santana, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, as a kid, I wanted to be a baseball player because I saw players like David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez, people who look like me, black, Hispanic men, living their dream, making money, and supporting their families. So I loved playing baseball in Mission Hill. And eventually, I saw other role models too, like Tito Jackson serving as a district councilor, Jeffrey Sanchez serving as Latino state rep, and former councilor Mike Ross. They've all come to they all visited me at the Tobin School. And role models like that are the reason why I am here today. And clearly, that's the only reason why I'm not David Ortiz today. But I am a product of our Boston youth sports programs. The lessons that I learned from playing baseball, squash, and basketball growing up in Boston have stuck with me. The teamwork, the dedication, the commitment to facing defeat by dusting yourself off, seeing where you fell short, and turning it into a motivation to try harder and smarter for the next time. I use those skills every day. Our investments in youth sports aren't about turning our kids into pro athletes. They're about giving them the valuable skills that last a lifetime. And we know that we simply don't invest enough in our youth sports programs. Just last week, I hosted a hearing as the chair of education on the Reggie Lewis Track and Athletic Center. We heard as the only statewide facility for public high school track, the Reggie serves for all students in Boston and beyond. Our Boston Public School athletes do use the facility more than other school districts, but the amount of time and the amount of daytime available for BPS to practice just doesn't begin to meet the need for our student athletes. We need to invest more in our athletic programs. The proposed White Stadium renovation could be one transformative investment in our youth, and I support that proposal. But we need more than just one single facility. We need resources across our city. We need more equipment, we need more staff, and we need more youth sports fairs to help kids and parents connect with more than 250 sports nonprofits here in the city of Boston. And perhaps most of all, we need to learn more from our community youth and their families about what's standing in their way. I may not play sports quite as much like I used to, but I'm still on a team. And I want to thank Councilor Weber for including me as a co-sponsor, and Councilor Fitzgerald as well. And I look forward to working together with my fellow co-sponsors, with my fellow colleagues, and our whole team here on the City Council and the administration. We can collaborate to get better information, better data, and figure out how together we can provide more sports resources for our youth. This hearing will be an important step in developing our playbook. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Santana. The chair recognizes Councilor Pepin. Councilor Pepin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam President. Sorry about that. But huge props to Councilor Weber, Fitzgerald, and Santana for bringing this to the table today, because, you know, city sports raised me too. I played Pop Warner, and I played Little League Baseball in different parts of the city. And if it wasn't for those teams, I wouldn't know what teamwork is. And I carry those values with me today. And what I noticed about District 5 is that it is those youth sports that carry families and creates those gathering moments and those third spaces for families that usually don't have those opportunities. You know, I think about the Mattapan Patriots that made it to the Nationals for the first time in the history of that organization. But they had to fundraise to make sure that they had enough money to take those kids down to Florida. I think about the Hyde Park Youth Basketball League that has been going on for decades. And last week they had their championship, but if you shoot a three-pointer from the corner, the ball hits the roof. And if there's a foul and the kid runs into the backboard, there's a huge hole on the padding. So I understand that there's a lot of need for improving our infrastructure in our fields, in our basketball courts, and in our ice rinks. And I want to make sure that I'm part of that conversation to make sure that I'm helping you all, because at the end of the day, when we help youth sports, we help the future of Boston. So thank you so much for bringing this to the table. I want to partner with you all to make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pepin. The chair recognizes Councillor Fernandez Anderson. Councillor Fernandez Anderson, you have the floor. I'm just going to go down the line. I wasn't really sure.
Thank you, Madam President. I thought, maybe it was Councillor Weber who was dreaming about being a basketball player. I was like, knew I shouldn't have given up my dream about being a sumo wrestler, but this is amazing. Coordination is important, that we meet to have discussions about how we are organizing youth sports. Sports or athleticism is one of the top proven or evidence-based proven mechanisms to improve mental health, 3 times more than any psychotropic meds. The difference is that when vulnerable communities don't have access or need access to better care or mental health, richer families or affluent families are able to contract or hire private therapists, or they have the access or ability to go into more naturopathic type of medicine. And so you end up getting, some families end up getting, again, less harsher treatments and more evidence-based results. So I really appreciate this. I think that every child, every youth, every person, maybe we should be doing something like a civic fit where everybody gets up in the morning. Councilor, Madam President, we should all be at the gym in the morning. Maybe we should do that too. But I really appreciate this, and I look forward to the conversation, not just on the fact that, it changes your brain, but that we should teach children that exercise and sportsmanship also equip kids with skills that can help them meet benchmarks across the board, education-wise, mental health, in terms of dealing with problem solving or crisis management amongst their peers. It's super important. I support it, and I look forward to the conversation. And once again, happy Ramadan Mubarak, and I appreciate you guys bearing with me on this, so with all these and all these pauses. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. And we did go rock climbing together, so there's one thing, but yes. The chair recognizes Councilor Durkin. Councilor Durkin, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I want to thank Councilor Weber, Councilor Fitzgerald, and Councilor Santana for really elevating this issue. I think youth sports are so important. I was a 3-sport mediocre high school athlete, and so I really appreciate the focus on and Councilor Santana's comments about what sports teach our kids and how important it is. And up until campaigning, I was playing volleyball every Monday night at the Chinatown Y. So appreciate it as a current and I would say former athlete at this point. But I'm heartened to see also Councilor Santana's comments about White Stadium. I think it's incredibly important that we have a conversation about how transformational some upgrades to that space could be for. I got a chance to see a lot of youth women's soccer players and who were so excited about the opportunity to potentially, by the time they're in high school, be playing on that field. And I think as we move as a city, we have to think big, and I really appreciate that. As part of the pilot discussions, 26 of the 45 pilot eligible institutions either touch or in District 8. So excited on multiple layers to have this discussion around what facilities currently exist in our city and how our institutions can also step up to provide what we need to see for our BPS kids. And obviously, we're the city of champions in more ways than one. 3 championships in the last few weeks with Charlestown High, New Mission, BLS Hockey. It's so exciting to see. And as the counselor for both Fenway Park and TD Garden, excited to see how potentially our sports teams can also step up to celebrate our BPS kids. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the NCAA Women's March Madness. Women are finally getting their time at the college level in terms of basketball. And our kids see that. They're able to look up and see when women and, it's Women's History Month are honored, and when the attention is on them. That's what really encouraged me to start playing volleyball. I was able to see a tournament when I was in middle school of some elite players playing at the highest level of volleyball, and that's what encouraged me to start playing volleyball. And so just acknowledging that any attention we can give to college sports and national sports in Boston. And I know Councillor Brian Worrell and I sponsored something around having there be some exciting games in Boston, and having an all-star game here. So hopefully, aspirationally, we can dream about how sports intersects with so many things, and I'm just really honored by the leadership of my colleagues. And I obviously asked to be the third on this, but it was already taken. So Councillor Santana, you beat me to it. But I love sports, and I love the way that this interacts with our BPS kids and how they can dream. So I'm grateful, thank you, and excited to be part of the conversation.
Thank you, Councilor Durkin. The chair recognizes Councilor Coletta. Councilor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll try to keep this short, and I just want to stand and rise to thank the makers. And I also tried to be third co-sponsor, but everybody beat me to it. But in general, we know that busy kids are safe kids. Youth sports provide not only supervision, but mentorship during a time that is so vulnerable in these kids' lives. It taught me teamwork, and we know how important teamwork is here. And it really does set the stage for leadership moving forward. I reflect on my time in youth sports with nostalgia and so much love in my heart. East Boston Girls Softball League is where I got a chance to meet a lot of my friends, and it set me off on the path to be really successful in my athletic career. Just in case you were wondering, varsity in 7th grade, but who's asking?
Hey.
But no, it really, to your point, Councillor Pepin, it creates that third space. It creates and convenes community and families, and we have just seen an explosion in Charlestown where this really is a safe space for a lot of people. And we've seen incredible advocacy on behalf of the Charlestown Soccer League. And they have integrated themselves into development conversations to get mitigation or community benefits. But not all parents have that time, right? And so we need to make this equitable. Let's try to get the Boston Planning and Development Agency here to talk about, or even the Planning Advisory Council, to assess where we're at with fields and how that's matching up with some development proposals. And so I'll stop there, but just want to say thank you so much for bringing this forward and look forward to the conversation. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. The chair recognizes Councilor Braden. Councilor Braden, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for bringing this forward. I've said before that my participation in youth sports as a kid was life-changing. It was a lifeline. It probably, I don't think I'm exaggerating to say it probably saved my life. So I really think this is incredibly important. I think we need to think about our facilities. You hear about a soccer league and they want to have competitive games, but the soccer fields aren't up to speed. They've got divots and holes, and they're not up to the standards that are required for competitive soccer leagues, etc. And we have huge amount of resources in the city of Boston with all the universities. There's coaching talent there, there's access to facilities in times that the students are away or whatever. I think we need to really look at all the assets that we have. And also thinking about our young people. BPS is only a fraction of the young people of school age that we have in our city. We have students who go to Medco, we have students in charter schools, we have parochial schools, we have Jewish day schools, we have a lot of kids. I think it's about 20,000 more than actually go to BPS. So, and having those opportunities to play together, build community, and engage with people who maybe look different from you or have a different religion from you or whatever. It's all about building community across our city. So I'm excited for this, and I really look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. The chair recognizes Councillor Orwell. Councillor Orwell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the sponsors of this. I grew up playing youth sports, and Councilor Weber told me, don't talk about my chess career, so I won't. But from everything from tennis to volleyball to basketball, I swim, and we heard about so many benefits that come out of youth sports. But I also want to just shout out to all the youth leagues in my district, our national champions, Dorchester Eagles and the Boston Raiders, Mattapan Patriots, Metropolitan Pop Warner, Sportsman's Tennis Center, ADSL, Mission Safe, Hoops Collaborative, Harlem Lacrosse, Boston Football Club, YES Kids, the Perkins Center Pee Wee basketball, where you can see Rep Worrell coaching basketball on a Saturday, my nephew, and One Love Sports Academy. I've always thought what would be cool is if we could get all of those coaches together for like a youth summit or youth sports summit to kind of hear what they need and their resources, how we can coordinate better as a city with our sports league. The other thing that I think will be pretty cool, and it's a policy I think is worth exploring. We have Earn and Learn. Maybe we can start thinking about a play and earn to kind of incentivize our kids to play sports or motivate them to learn arts and play music. But so there's some of my ideas, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Orwell. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to my colleagues for introducing this. For us to dive a little bit deeper. I am not a sports person, y'all. While everybody was playing sports, I was cooking and cleaning, so I never had the opportunity to do that. But because I didn't have access to sports, I worked really hard at making sure that my daughter did. And so my daughter played soccer when she was little. Now she is she plays basketball and baseball for her school and is also a member of the BASE program. And so I'm really excited that I have a baller in the family. I think the first in our family to really be all about the sports life. And so really excited to have this conversation and thank my colleagues for bringing it forth. I just would like to add, while we are focusing on young people, I think that it's also important for us to look at some of the other types of leagues that we have here across the city. There are a lot of baseball leagues that are led by older men. There's a league of, I don't know what they're called, but I know they're older men, Dominican men at that. And so they still know how to play. And I think there's also a Liga of the Caribeñas, which is the first league of women, and Dominican women. But nonetheless, we have seen that there is an uptick in sports and looking at our parks and who has access to them, when we have access, if we have access at all, how we show up in these spaces. I believe, and I would just encourage you all while we're talking about youth, that I think that when we're thinking about sports and we're thinking about facilities and we're thinking about what this could potentially mean, I would encourage the sponsors to consider the whole family, not just young people, because everyone should have access to opportunities to play sports, no matter how old you are. I may even get out there in the field now, my old little age, but I just think that there's an opportunity here for us to really be super mindful and thoughtful about, yes, youth, absolutely, because this is where the highest need is, but there is definitely studies that show that people who are older, who are playing sports, in terms of their mental and physical health, that also helps them out. So I would just encourage us to consider bringing in some other folks to be involved in the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. And I won't belabor the point, but I also grew up in youth sports, and just want to shout out the Muni in Hyde Park, which is where I played basketball as a teenager, where I started off, and had just amazing, it was just such a way to ground me in community. So shout out to the Muni, shout out to Coach Winston, to everyone involved, Councilor Pepin, mentioned some of the issues with the facilities there. And then I also want to shout out, my basketball team when I was at Latin. And it's particularly something that I'm remembering because last week, a mother of my classmate, my late classmate, John Yasayan, who passed away. He was my locker mate. He passed away at 14 while playing football, the football field at Latin, and I wore number 40 in his memory on the basketball team. And so youth sports are really transformational and important, and I just wanted to give my love to Rita Yasayan because that memory of me, I don't often see pictures of me when I used to play basketball because I stopped playing for a reason. I wasn't the best basketball player. Superintendent Nora did not hear that, but I just wanted to uplift his memory and his mom for sending me that photo. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Flynn, Mejia, Pepin, Worrell, and please add the chair. Thank you. Docket number 0551 will be referred to the Committee on Education. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0552?
Docket number 0552, Councilor Mejia offer the following. Order for a hearing to audit the implementation and outcomes of restorative justice practices in Boston Public Schools.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor, you have the floor. One moment, sorry. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to add you as an original second co-sponsor, please.
Thank you. Councilor Louisiana so added. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Yeah. And just for my colleagues, I have a few refiles. Just to let you all know I'm back. No, just joking. I think it's important. I got really inspired because last week Councilor Murphy filed a hearing order around libraries, and I was like, oh my God, I did something very similar, and I wanted to make sure that, I have so much work that I really want to make sure that I continue here in this term, and I want to make sure that we do just that. So this one is, I have a few, but this one is in particular to restorative justice. We filed a hearing order last year, and we also held a hearing order to really audit the practices of restorative justice, especially in light of all of the incidents that we've seen here in the city of Boston in regards to violence. We thought it would be important to bring this hearing order back to the council. Last year, we know that organizations such as Action for Boston Community Development, Communities for Restorative Justice, Mothers for Justice and Equity received grants from Governor Healy's office, and we really want to make sure that we'd like to see some of this partnership, how it would look like with our Boston Public Schools. We also know that DA Hayden is looking at and is looking to implement restorative justice into our courts. So I think that when we're thinking about restorative justice, it is a practice that I think helps repair harm, but creates an opportunity for us to really look at that as one of the kits in our toolkit for looking at the violence that we are seeing in our Boston Public Schools. And so with that, I just wanted to ensure that we have an opportunity to bring in practitioners, students, and educators who are doing the work to help us really ground ourselves in this practice. So I look forward to having the hearing, and I will defer back to my President Council.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. I'll just be brief. It is so incredibly important that we are supporting and funding restorative justice practices in our schools. When we have, the mayor, BP, Dr. Bisola Ojokotu, Dr. Kevin Simon this morning just discussed $21 million in investments in our public schools for mental health issues. We have our kids walking into schools every day with trauma, and that's why we are all fighting for more support services in the form of social workers, in the form of guidance counselors that are really there to help emotionally our kids. And we need to make sure that we're intervening with practices where they can solve their problems through restorative justice practices. And we need to make sure that we have the right people working on the issue, that we are working in partnership with the organizations that Councilor Mejia mentioned, that the state continues to support restorative justice practices. My niece went to the Young Achievers in Mattapan school that had, at the time, had no guidance counselors, had no partnerships with outside organizations and was just getting their restorative justice practices back, and they had a few incidences of violence. And so it's really important for us to invest in these community-based practices and how we help to solve the issues of trauma that our kids are walking to school with every day that often manifest themselves in a form of violence. So I want to thank Councilor Mejia for refiling this, and really eager. Last year I wasn't able to be a co-sponsor. This year I am, and I'm really grateful to help and lean into this work, because it's incredibly important when we're talking about our kids, particularly our Black and brown kids, when they walk into school and how we're meeting them where they are. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Councilor Braden? Councilor Braden, you have the floor. Or were you to add your name?
I was rising to add my name.
Okay, it's okay.
But also to thank Councillor Mejia. Like restorative justice practices, I know in our district we have some schools. The Gardner Pilot Academy has a very long-standing restorative justice program that has worked really well over many, many years. And I think our young people are coming back into school after COVID, and they have a huge amount of trauma. They're disoriented and discombobulated and really not able, and I think we need to use every tool in the book, and I think the restorative justice practices are proven to be very effective. So I think we need to fund it and support it and encourage it and lift it up wherever we can. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Councilor Braden. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I think this is an extremely important conversation, especially considering that the school, BPS, is considering going into an inclusion model. A lot of concerns from the community is that there aren't enough resource rooms, there aren't enough actual practitioners or people that are certified or qualified to be able to do this in this model. So while the chair of Ways and Means will lead us into the process of discussing funds and allocations in terms of this new model going into inclusion, I'm very interested in the conversation also if Councilor Mejia is auditing to actually understand how this has been implemented, or the execution, or their mechanisms that they've used thus far. I think there's a correlation here in understanding, as we're talking about going into a new model, how exactly they've done that so thus far in the schools like the Henderson, and schools that they've actually already implemented inclusive model, as well as moving forward. So super important conversation. Looking forward to being a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Durkin, Fitzgerald, Pepin, Santana, Weber, Worrell. Docket number 0552 will be referred to the Committee on Education. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0553?
Docket number 0553, Councilor Mejia offered the following. Order for a hearing to audit the City of Boston's procurement processes, procedures, and progress.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, this is just another refile. I think, as we know, the city is working really hard at making sure that we're closing that wealth gap, and also looking at making sure that women and people of color have access to opportunities to really build that wealth through our procurement process. And so this is just another refile, and I'm looking forward to diving a little bit deeper and having a better understanding of what's working, what's not, and more importantly, how we can fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Another super important topic. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to my colleague, Councilor Mejia, for filing this. Understanding that the city has already, looked at different ways of tech assistance, or understanding, what exactly is available in terms of Black and brown businesses available so that we can increase percentage. We went up about 2%, but really curious to understand exactly, are we actually applying those metrics every time? Are we filtering the same Black and brown and women businesses? Are we doing our part as a city to actually reach to those businesses on the ground? One thing that I think is missing is that there aren't enough of networks between, for example, say, a Black women's contractual network that comes together and actually creates some sort of like website like Be Local, where you can actually say, yeah, they are available, and what are we doing about bidding, and how can we have those conversations so that we can make it, the applications viable and accessible to our minority groups. Thank you, Councilor Mejia, for filing, and looking forward to joining this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. The chair recognizes Councilor Orrell. Councilor Orrell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councilor Mejia for filing this. And, you know, want to give a big shout out to Chief Idowu for all his outstanding efforts in increasing our contract portfolio to more than $1 billion. Just kind of wanted to point out a few things that were mentioned, but, you know, doubling the number of contracts awarded to minority-owned businesses, initiatives such as the Space Grant Program, also the Contract and Opportunity Fund, and then there is the SCALE program, and then also the Sheltered Market program. But I think I want to also bring into this space, into the conversation, that I think more collaboration with all of our Boston businesses, especially those who are pilot eligible institutions, like our hospitals and universities, is also an important piece on equitable procurement processes. So wanted to bring that to make sure that we're looking at not only the city, but all the other institutions that are stakeholders here in the city of Boston. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Orrell. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Durkin, Fernandez-Anderson, Fitzgerald, Flynn, Pepin, Santana, Weber, Worrell, and please add the chair. Docket number 0553 will be referred to the Committee on Post-Audit Government Accountability, Transparency, and Accountability. Mr. Clerk, will you please read docket number 0554?
Docket number 0554, Councilor Mejia offered the following. Order for a hearing to audit Boston Public Schools Special Education Services and return on investments.
The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, this is just another refile, and I want to note for the record that after having a really great conversation with you, while it says audit, you could potentially think it might go into Ways and Means, or it might wherever it's going to go, but I think that based on your leadership and feedback, I think the best place for this to go is to the education space, and I'm going to work alongside you to ensure that we have a speedy hearing around this issue, because having worked in the education space before I walked into this chamber, one of the biggest concerns that I heard constantly was all about special education and our return on investments. We spend a lot of money on supporting students who have special needs, but we're not seeing those returns on those investments, and I'm really looking forward to having a better understanding of how Boston Public Schools are really getting those dollars into the classrooms. I think about the parents who sit in their IEP meetings and don't even understand half the things that are being said. Usually there's translation that gets lost, and so I think that we really need to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to support our students who have special, unique abilities. And so I'm looking forward to hosting the hearing, and more importantly, bringing in those who are living the realities or doing the work to help us hold BPS accountable to every single dollar that they're getting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I almost feel like we're in a loop now. Councilor Mejia, yeah, thank you for bringing this forth again. I'm of the opinion that it's not just the investments in the services itself, but rather the investments in supporting parents to create that homeschool connection. I think that we do a disservice to our families, especially those of other languages, of not actually educating them what exactly does a comprehensive assessment entail, or social-emotional or socio-academic assessment entails. So when we do this, when we only put the service, the Band-Aid on the issue, and we talked a lot about this earlier in a press conference today about mental health, and not support those who are actually supposed to be working and monitoring on, say, a behavioral modification at home, on, say, a homework space, right? It entails a whole lot. Like, so there's lighting, ventilation, space, sound, sensory, and if we're not educating our parents in actually understanding what a treatment plan is, and how to actually monitor those modification charts, or what exactly we're working on. How do you actually work with your child on communication skills, or building, again, those level of social skills to overcome some of their barriers for their academic success? We're not doing justice to our families. So a lot of this investment should be in educating families, again, in understanding how to actually follow a treatment plan and support at home. If there's no support at home, it doesn't work. So again, looking forward to this conversation, and thank you for filing.
Thank you, Councillor Fernandes-Anderson. The chair recognizes Councillor Braden. Councillor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you again, Councillor Mejia, for bringing this forward. I had the honour of working in special education at Perkins School for the Blind for 16 years, and I learned a whole lot about how families need that connection. That homeschool connection is really, really important. The other issue I wanted just to elevate in this moment when we're thinking about this is just how we transition our young people with who require special education services in schools, young people with disabilities, how they transition into adult life, and the programs that are important to support them in that journey, and also and the handoff into sheltered employment or going off to college or whatever they need. So I think that's an important piece of it. It's not just the early education, intervention, and then all the way through school, but then also that transition into adult life is a really important piece of it as well. And that's the proof of the pudding, as Councillor Worrell often references. It's sort of the cradle to the career, like school. That's when the outcome measurement needs to happen. Like, how successful have we been is reflected on how the success of our education system should be the success of the young person when they leave the system at the other end. So I look forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councillor Mejia.
Yes.
Something you want to add?
Yes, President.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to add, sorry, I should have said this earlier, but I'd like to add Councillor Anderson as an original co-sponsor to the special education one, as well as Councillor Murphy.
To
the special education, the hearing that we're talking about right now.
The English language learners.
No, the special education, the one that we're referring to right now.
Oh, 554, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you wanted to add Fernandes-Anderson as second and Murphy as third. Okay. Councillor Fernandes-Anderson is added as the second original co-sponsor. Councillor Mejia seeks suspension of the rules to add Councillor Murphy as an original third co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councillor Murphy is so added. Thank you, Councillor Mejia. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councillors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fitzgerald, Flynn, Pepin, Santana, Weber, Worrell, and please add the chair. Docket number 0554 will be referred to the Committee on Education. Mr. Clerk, please read docket number 0555.
Docket number 0555, Councilor Mejia offer the following. Order for a hearing on government transparency and accountability towards service provision spending for English language learners.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, my colleagues, I'm almost done. Okay. So before I get started, I wanted to add you as an original co-sponsor.
Thank you. Councilor Louise Jenna so added. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
And I also want to suspend Rule 12 and add Councilor Anderson to join us as well.
Councilor Mejia seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Fernandes-Anderson as a third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Fernandes-Anderson is so added. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And as an English language learner myself, I am really excited to refile this hearing order to give us an opportunity to really look at, are we meeting the moment? And we know that we're not. So much so, we have still a lot more work to do in this space. I was part of the ELL task force in the Boston Public Schools before I came into this chamber. And I learned a lot as a parent voice in that space around a lot of the lack of not just the spending, but the services, the quality of services, the advocacy. And so, as you know, in the news, there's been several discrepancies that have occurred since we filed this hearing order last year. There's been a mass exodus of folks who were part of the ELL task force who have left. And more recently, the superintendent of the ELL department at Boston Public School has also filed a lawsuit against the Boston Public Schools just for standing up and trying to fight for English language learners. And needless to say, when we're talking about conversations that are uncomfortable, it's really important for us as a body to be able to utilize this platform to better understand where have we gone wrong and what we need to do to repair that harm. And so I'm hoping that this hearing order will give us an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper, to not just the spending, but also to take a look at are the services being rendered, are students being served, especially now with all of the migrant students that have recently have arrived here in the city of Boston. You know, we have been working in partnership with other nonprofit organizations to help supplement the academic needs of some of our migrant students. And so I don't think it is fair that nonprofit organizations and churches are the ones who are stepping up to fill in the gap. And I think that we have an opportunity to learn from those who are doing the work to figure out what we need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think oftentimes I try to explain in the way that I can how challenging expressing myself or anybody with other languages is. And I think sometimes, you know, I quickly say, you know, English is my fourth language, and it's taken like I'm showing off. But today I'll show off for you. So, a minha cabo-verdiana anda papel crioulo, que é a minha primeira língua. Eu falo português porque foram colonizados por portugueses no Cabo Verde. E também, e depois, quando eu cheguei à América, não havia nadie que hablara portugués, nem que hablara cabo-verdiano, crioulo de Cabo Verde. Entonces, los boricuas me enseñaron español, pero casé con un dominicano, claro que aprendí a hablar como los dominicanos. And then, finally, I went to school 6 months later, and English became my fourth language. There, j'étudie français, ma mère parle français aussi, mais j'ai besoin de pratiquer français, mais je parle français. Un petit peu. So, لكن ما بتكلمش عربي, right? So I'm Muslim, and I had to learn how to read and write Arabic. That is super difficult. That is not a thing you pick up off the ground. And there are nuances, and there are feelings, and there are ways in culture that you have to express oneself. One expresses it, her or himself. And so while we can see, you know, people speaking and accents and all of the different stigmas that come around people that speak other languages, imagine a child come in from another country. I was 10 when I got here. And then quickly learned that, you know, adaptability was my first mission. But it's not like that for all children. Sometimes, because they're 10, they're placed in 4th or 5th grade with zero literacy, with zero math, never been to school. So BPS, and I'm a testament because I worked for them, does not properly assess or maybe inundated with all of their overwhelming agendas. They are not properly assessing our children. Sometimes these kids are illiterate or things, and they don't actually even speak. They have never read anything, any books, and they're just placed in a grade. So then you have a parent that can't support them, and by the time they get home, and then they're mandated to take MCAS. We'll talk about that on a state level. If you guys are so inclined, please go testify. But the idea that, you know, we're not properly supporting, and I filed with Councilor Mejia to support our families, our parents of English language learners, is extremely important as well. So hopefully, maybe Councilor Mejia, we can partner up those two hearings and see how we can bring BPS to account. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Merci, obrigada. I don't know all the other ones. Councilor Weber, you have the chair recognizes Councilor Weber. Councilor Weber, you have the floor.
Gracias. Mil grazie or something like that. Mi español no es muy fuerte, pero I'll speak in English. So thank you, Councilor Mejia, for elevating this issue. I think here in Boston, as Councilor Fernandez-Anderson was, by her own example, that we need to help kids who are learning English. And I just point out we have a test in schools system here where, kids need to get into those schools to get the best education for the most part in the city. And what a barrier it is for someone who's only been here for a few years and is just learning English and putting them, making them take the same test as somebody who's born here and whose family speaks English at home, is something we need to think about. We need to help our English language learners, and we need to keep an eye on what's happening in the city. The new, as Councillor Worrell has highlighted in the Ways and Means Committee, the BPS budget, they're reclassifying English language learning teachers as inclusion teachers, I believe, which makes it difficult to figure out how many teachers are actually providing that service. So thank you for highlighting. We need to make sure there are enough teachers providing this necessary service in our school system for our kids and our families. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Weber. The chair recognizes Councilor Pepin. Councilor Pepin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. But major shout out to Councilor Mejia for bringing this to the table today, because this is a very personal conversation to me too. Parents are both immigrants and only spoke Spanish for a very long time, and I'm the oldest. So a lot of the responsibilities to pay the bills, to talk to the landlords, when facing eviction, I was the one that had to speak for them at 10 years old. And if it wasn't for school, I wouldn't have learned that. But what happens, I had the privilege of being born here. The migrants that are coming in, the parents that are coming with students that are young, they're learning that language here. And I know for a fact that there are hundreds of youth in Boston that are serving as a translator for their parents every day to make sure that their bills are getting paid, that those medical appointments are being made, and that the food is on their table. My voice is a little bit shaky right now, not because I'm nervous, but because it makes me emotional. And I just want to make sure that it's not just the youth getting the services in the schools, it's the parents too. Because they're here to work. And it's not easy what they go through. And it's fighting back to you. It's very personal. Thank you for bringing this to the table. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Councilor Pepin. The chair recognizes Councilor Braden. Councilor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you again, Councillor Mejia. I also want to stand and elevate the importance of our hub schools that offer wraparound services. Again, I'll shout a big shout out to the Gardner Pilot Academy. They're a hub school and a pilot school, and they have a really robust adult education program for the parents of their students who are non-English speakers. And so they have a survival English program where folks who speak little or no English, all the way up to an entrepreneurs program for parents who are small business owners who have a cleaning business or a contracting business or whatever, to help them be more successful, economically more successful. And it's a multiplier effect, because if our parents are more successful, they're more confident advocates for their children in school, they're more successful in their business and their jobs, and they're able to get more pay. So I know English language learners in the school system, but also I really feel some small investment, and then we're not talking about millions of dollars, but some more investment into our adult education programs to provide ESL classes for the parents of our students in our schools will pay dividends as well. So I want to elevate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. The chair recognizes Councillor Flynn. Councillor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the Maker for sponsoring this important discussion. English language learners are critical to the residents of Boston, and in providing them with the translation interpretation services is critical. And just wanted to share one brief story.
the highlight of my day on Sunday, believe it or not, was not the parade. The highlight of my day on Sunday afternoon was receiving a call from my staff who needed my help, from a family that was burned down. Their apartments were burned, major fire in Chinatown, and they had no place to go. They spoke Cantonese and the other family spoke Mandarin, and I don't speak either. But I was fortunate enough and honored to join my assistant on Sunday evening to be in Chinatown helping these families with housing access. But it's really critical, not only the young people, the students in BPS, but it's the family as well, providing them with language and communication access. And I do want to acknowledge Council Mejia that when I think of Council Mejia, that's the first issue I think of is language and communication access. And there's a lot of people in my district that don't speak English, and city services should be readily available to them, regardless if you're able to speak English or not. That's why a lot of us rely on staff to do our jobs as well. But it's the family that is also impacted by language and communication access, supporting immigrant rights as well. So I just want to thank the sponsor and my colleagues here as well for their commitment to language and communication access. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn. Councilor Braden, did you? No, okay, thank you. Is there anyone else looking to speak on this matter? I'll just say, like, I am really heartened by the advocacy for English language learners on this council. I want to thank Councilor Mejia for reintroducing this, but I know we have champions from Councilor Braden, Fernand Janderson, to Councilor Flynn, to the new councilors and the lived experience you bring. It obviously is an important topic of discussion when we're talking about the budget and the BPS budget and demystifying it. When it comes to our English language learners, it's so important as we continue to advocate. My office cares deeply about our life classrooms for students with limited and interrupted formal education. With all of this energy, hopefully we can do right by both our BPS students who are learning English and our parents, because there's such a great need. So thank you again, Councilor Mejia, for your leadership on this, and to all of my colleagues for all the work you do in your own offices to really address this issue that is of vital importance to our city as we continue to try to be the welcoming city that we are, an inclusive city that acknowledges the language needs of our residents. Would anyone like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fitzgerald, Flynn, Pepin, Santana, Weber, Worrell. Thank you. Docket number 0555 will be referred to the Committee on Education. Mr. Clerk, will you please read docket number 0556?
Docket number 0556, Councilor Mejia offer the following. Order for a hearing on government accountability, transparency, and accessibility of decision-making protocols in city government.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And before I start, I just want to thank my colleagues for rising and utilizing your microphones to amplify on behalf of others. So I just want to say thank you to you all. And I wanted to just especially acknowledge you, Councilor Pepin. Bringing your full heart into this chamber oftentimes is something very vulnerable to do, but I think it's very necessary because the reason why we're here is to be that voice for so many people who will never have an opportunity to step into here. So I just want to say thank you for bringing your full self and being so vulnerable to share your experiences with us, because that is how we make change, right? Is by listening to each other and recognizing the pain that we carry in here. So I just want to say thank you for that, okay? So this is the last one, President Louisian. This is the last time I'm going to get up to speak. I hope, right?
Nope, you have one more.
Oh my God.
Unless you're withdrawing it, but you have
goodness,
one more. 0558.
I'm just joking. Oh, I do. Okay, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm acting like.
But you can keep it brief if you're sorry. So yeah.
Let me find out. Okay, I'll keep it brief. But, you know, I am going to be refiling a series of other things, but so I'm sorry for the amount of time I'm hogging up here today. But this one is really important. As you all know, the city is going through so many different changes, and oftentimes those who are most impacted usually feel the most left out of conversations. And so, and for those who know anything about my office, since the moment I stepped foot into City Hall, it has been all about creating space and a platform for people to understand what decisions are being made, to be a part of the decision-making processes, even though it may delay or slow down things or whatever the case may be. Nothing feels more affirming than to be heard. And I think that given all of the things that we are experiencing right now in the city, I feel like there's a water hose in our faces every time we turn around, whether it's the center, the bus lanes, the bike lanes, White Stadium, the Shattuck, to move or to not to move, the O'Brien, like everything that deals with our quality of life feels like this is the moment. And so as we continue to navigate these very difficult conversations, I think we have an opportunity to pause and to really think about the type of structure, the protocols and the procedures and the standards that are in place for what it looks like to have a quality decision-making model process in place. Now, while I'm filing this as a hearing order, it is my hope that we're able to come together with a bill of standards or a bill of rights in terms of what decision-making processes look like across the city of Boston and across all of our departments, because we can't continue to have the dynamic that things are being done to us without us. And my saying that nothing about us without us is for us. And if we don't pause and we don't think about what we can do to build a better system in terms of communication, in terms of engagement, then I think we're just going to continue to bring the administration in for hearings and have advocates, sending thousands of emails to our offices. And I think it's an opportunity for us to really evaluate our protocols when it comes to decision making. And I think we have an opportunity to see this as not something that is adversarial, but really an opportunity for us to really take a good look at what are we doing right, what do we need to do differently, and use it as an experiment and an opportunity to learn. And that's what I'm really looking forward to doing in this hearing. But more importantly is that once we know what we know, my hope is that we'll do something about it collectively. And I think that if we could deliver that for our constituents, all 13 of us, right, because we represent the city as a whole, regardless if you represent a district or not, we have an opportunity as a body to really hold ourselves to a standard around what decision-making processes look like and what it's going to look like to really hear those that we serve. So looking forward to having this hearing, more importantly, auditing it and looking to see how transparent we are, how accessible we are. Are we really meeting the moment? And if not, then let's figure out during this time together what we need to do to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? The chair recognizes Councilor Fitzgerald. Councilor Fitzgerald, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to, looking at all of my colleague Councilor Mejia's filings today, I just want to say thank you for focusing on processes and results. And it's so important because if you look at the theme through all of them, it really seems like that's your focus. And it's always good to sort of go back and say, is what we're doing working? And making sure when we budget, what we're investing in, what are those results? So just wanted to say thank you so much for advocating that and appreciating about processes and results and making sure that we're still paying attention to those as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fitzgerald. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. While advocating for District 7, a lot of these concerns have come up. And with my District 7 Advisory Council, we have vetted through a lot of these policies and processes and talked about, what is transparent, and have met with the mayor, have met with different leadership or cabinet leaders to talk about specifically what mechanisms or how do you make it more transparent? How does the city become more inclusive in terms of conversations regarding changes in the city or just, the usual things that are already in practice. Is it working, is it not? So I think there's a way to where the two can coexist, right? The idea that we as a city have to continue to develop, that we have to change, that we have to move, that we have to continue to build our city, as well as while we're doing that on a timeline that is hopefully feasible but fast enough to compete with what's out there or what the market demands, but also while including or creating community engagement. And I think that some would say that challenge is too much, and it's more important to get it done, to check off the list. And if that's the case, then we have not done exactly what we said we would do. We have not made the city equitable, resilient, transparent, inclusive. And so I would say, let's hold meetings. I'm proposing that we hold meetings with different cabinet members. I know that Chief Mallour has implemented quality assurance in 311, and this is extremely crucial. I remember having a conversation with her very early on. Do you have a quality assurance? No, I don't, but I'm already planning on that. And now that she has at least one in building capacity to bring more, hopefully also, I'm also suggesting that in many of these departments that some of this quality assurance or some of the metrics or some of the monitoring of progress should happen contracted or should happen outside of the city, contract or commission to a third-party company. If we're the ones with the problem and we're also saying that we're going to fix the problem, when you call a constituent and you hear the problem, are we going to address it, or do we band-aid it up, or do we patch it up, and how is it being handled? So all of these questions come up. I think that the administration does want to make it transparent, does want to make it inclusive, but intention versus impact. Right? So let's have that conversation. Let's talk about those metrics. Let's figure out exactly what they're implementing, what are they currently working on since the last time you filed this, and see if we can come up with some good solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fitzgerald, Pepin, Santana, Weber, Worrell. Please add the chair. Docket number 0556 will be referred to the Committee on Post-Audit Government Accountability, Transparency, and Accountability. Oh, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, I don't think you called my name to add my name.
Oh, I apologize. Can you please add Councilor Fernandez Anderson? Thank you. Docket number 0556 will be referred to the Committee on Post-Audit Government Accountability, Transparency, and Accessibility. Mr. Clerk, please read docket number 0557.
Docket number 0557, Councilor Fernandez Anderson offered the following: resolution recognizing Bangladesh Independence Day.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. By commemorating Bangladesh Independence Day, we honor the resilience, courage, and sacrifices of the Bengali people in their pursuit of freedom and self-determination. This recognition not only celebrates their journey towards independence, but also reinforces our city's commitment to upholding the principles of democracy, equality, and justice for all. This resolution not only recognizes their independence, but also serves as a powerful reminder the enduring of bond between our city and the Bengali community. It underscores our shared values of tolerance, mutual respect, and cultural diversity, fostering a spirit of unity and inclusivity that enriches the fabric of our society. So I ask that all of my colleagues and community to join me for a flag raise very soon. I don't have the exact date yet, but I will be notifying you. And happy Independence Day to the Bengali community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, and happy Independence Day to our Bengali community. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fitzgerald, Flynn, Mejia, Pepin, Santana, Weber, Worrell. Please add the chair. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Madam President, apologies. I would like to suspend the rules and ask for passage of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Fernandez Anderson seeks suspension of the rules and adoption of docket number 0557. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. This docket has been adopted. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0558?
Docket number 0558, Councilor Mejia offer the following. Resolution recognizing March 21st, 2024 as Andrea Swain Day in the city of Boston.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate your patience and thank my colleagues. So this is my last one, for real. This is a resolution recognizing March 21st as Andrea Swain Day here in the city of Boston. And if you don't know who she is, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her so you know why we're going to make this day all about her. Andrea Swain has dedicated over 3 decades to improving the quality of life for families in Boston with a particular focus on the Roxbury neighborhood. Andrea has served for a decade with the Boston Housing Authority, playing a pivotal role in providing services to youth and families, and co-created the social service component of Hope 6 initiative, leading to the transformation of Orchard Gardens Estate and Mission Main housing communities. Andrea has been an integral part of the Boston Boys and Girls Club since 2001, serving as the executive director of the Roxbury branch. During her tenure, she oversaw the expansion and renovation of the club in 2006, and established a leadership pipeline providing education, health and wellness, and local and global leadership programs. In fact, that work led to Corey Rain, who is a member of the Boys and Girls Club, an alum, and also a staffer in my office. Andrea currently serves as the Chief Impact Officer, where she oversees the development, integration, and execution of services aimed at supporting and enhancing the effectiveness and impact of all clubs, Youth Connect operations for youth across Boston and Chelsea. Beyond her role at the Yawkey Club, Andrea's commitment to community extends to her active involvement in various advisory and board positions, including Think Kids, Boston Children's Hospital Community Advisory Board, the 4-Star Dance Studio Advisory Board, and the Finance Ministry of Concord Baptist Church. Now, therefore, be it that the Boston City Council recognizes March 21st, 2024 as Andrea Swain Day in the city of Boston in recognition for her dedication to youth development and community impact. And so I'm really excited. The Boys and Girls Club, not just because Robert Lewis, who is now the new CEO, is a mentor, but is someone who has inspired me. When I first entered the youth development space, he created a program called the Boston Street Workers, and I was one of the facilitators of the curriculum that trained the youth workers on how to do their job. So I feel like 30 years later, my world is coming back in a full circle moment and giving an opportunity to uplift his work and also his staff. So looking forward to 130 more years of the Boys and Girls Club here in the city of Boston. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Just want to say that Andrea is amazing and incredible, does great work for the Boys and Girls Club. She's always deeply rooted in community, and so happy to see her getting this recognition. Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fernandez Anderson, Fitzgerald, Flynn, Pepin, Santana, Weber, Worrell, and please add the chair. Councilor Mejia, are you seeking suspension and passage? Okay. Councilor Mejia seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket number 0558. Oh, okay. Councilor Mejia seeks suspension of the rules and adoption of docket number 0558. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you. Docket number 055 has been adopted. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0559?
Docket number 0559, Councilors Durkin and Santana offer the following. Resolution in support of the Location Shield Act.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Durkin. Councilor Durkin, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much, Council President. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Weber.
Councilor Durkin seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Weber as an original third co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Weber is so added. Councilor Durkin, you now have the floor.
Today, Councilor Santana and Councilor Weber, alongside my office, are asking the City Council to pass a resolution in support of the Location Shield Act. It is imperative that we address pressing issues that impact each and every one of us, which is the unchecked exploitation of our personal location data by data brokers. Our smartphones and those marvelous gadgets that have become extensions of ourselves meticulously track our every move, divulging the most intimate details of our lives. While this data can be harnessed for the beneficial purposes, such as navigation and fitness tracking, it also poses a grave threat to our privacy, safety, and fundamental rights. We live in an age where unregulated data brokers trade our personal location data with reckless abandon, turning a profit at the expense of our privacy and security. This practice is not only invasive, but also facilitates nefarious agendas, putting every cell phone user at risk. Consider this. Data brokers have shamelessly sold the location data of individuals visiting abortion clinics, exposing patients and providers to potential persecution and harassment. They have enabled bounty hunters and debt collectors to stalk and intimidate people by purchasing their location data. They have emboldened extremist organizations to target marginalized communities, as evidenced by the appalling case of tracking a priest to gay bars and publicly outing him. But today, we stand united in our resolve to combat this modern egregious violation of our rights. The Location Shield Act, proposed by Massachusetts State Representatives Senators Cindy Cream and Representative Kate Lipper-Garabedian, is a beacon of hope in our fight for privacy and safety. This vital piece of legislation seeks to ban the sale of cell phone location data information, thereby safeguarding the integrity of our personal data and protecting us from harm and exploitation. I urge our City Council colleagues to join me in supporting the Location Shield Act, and let's send a clear message to the state legislature that privacy, safety, and dignity of our constituent cannot be compromised. And I'll just add that Massachusetts residents overwhelmingly agree the use of cell phone data should not give you, using a cell phone should not require you to give up your privacy. 92% of Massachusetts voters support passing this law. By a 3-to-1 margin, voters think the state has a responsibility to protect people's location data, and Massachusetts can protect people by banning the sale of cell phone location information. And I want to uplift and thank the work of Reproductive Equity Now, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood Massachusetts, who are leading the way and advocating for the passage of this important legislation. The City Council has a role here to speak to this issue, to uplift it, and to provide a boost to this legislation. So I urge my colleagues to join me today in supporting this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Durkin. The chair recognizes Councilor Santana. Councilor Santana, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Councilor Durkin, for sponsoring this. We are living in a dangerous time. Access to safe abortions is under attack. Access to reproductive care is under attack. Access to gender-affirming health care is under attack. Our LGBTQ plus community is under attack. Even just being able to exist as a trans person is under attack. And the first line of defense against these attacks is privacy. Privacy doesn't mean hiding. It means having control over our own information. When anyone with a credit card can buy your location data without your consent, when abusers can track their victims' whereabouts, when extremist groups can know where you live, where you work, where you get your health care, and those extremists can track every member of your community, none of us is safe. This threat is growing nationally, and dangerous misuse of our data is already happening. Detailed data about who's visiting abortion clinics has been sold, and company collected location data from a Muslim player, from a Muslim player app and sold it to the military contractors. Advertisers are targeting political rallies attendees. Gay Catholics have been attacked and outed by extremists. Domestic abusers have used location data to stalk and harass their victims. We owe it to our Boston residents and all of our residents in Massachusetts to stop letting data brokers profit at the expense of our privacy and protection. That's what the Location Shield Act would do. House Bill 357 and Senate Bill 148 will ban the sale of our location data. It will require companies to get our consent before collecting our data, and it will still allow for you to use your favorite apps, support emergency services, and still get your nearest Dunkin' Donuts. It would just stop treating us like a product to be sold at the highest bidder. It will stop letting companies sell our safety. This act in front of us, in front of our state legislator, is there right now. An act protecting reproductive health access, LGBTQ lives, religious liberty, and freedom of movement by banning the sale of cell phone location information. I urge the legislator to pass this law promptly, and I hope my colleagues will stand with me in calling on our state legislator to protect our privacy and to protect the safety of all of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Santana. The chair recognizes Councilor Weber. Councilor Weber, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Councilor Durkin and Councilor Santana, for bringing this before the council. I support the proposed legislation. We should not allow our most vulnerable populations to be put at risk for profit, essentially. For anyone who, this has been in the news recently. Just on Monday, the New York Times podcast, The Daily, had an episode titled "Your Car May Be Spying on You," and it told the story of a woman who was the victim of domestic violence who's being tracked and pursued by her abuser through an app that was activated on her car without her even knowing it, and how companies actually give incentives to car dealerships to activate these location trackers so they could sell the data without the drivers even know what's going on. So again, I support this resolution. I hope the rest of you will too. And thank you to Councilors Durkin and Santana for bringing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Weber. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Fernandez Anderson, Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, not Santana, Worrell, and me, because Santana is a co-sponsor. And please add the chair. Councilors Durkin, Santana, and Weber, suspension of the rules and adoption of docket number 0559. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Mr. Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Roll call vote on docket number 0559. Councilor Braden. Yes. Councilor Braden, yes. Councilor Coletta. Yes. Councilor Coletta, yes. Councilor Durkin. Yes. Councilor Durkin, yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Yes. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, yes. Councilor Fitzgerald. Yes. Councilor Fitzgerald, yes. Councilor Flynn. Yes. Councilor Flynn, yes. Councilor Louisiane.
Yes.
Councilor Louisiane, yes. Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, yes. Councilor Murphy. Councilor Murphy, yes. Councilor Pepin. Yes. Councilor Pepin, yes. Councilor Santana. Yes. Councilor Santana, yes. Councilor Weber. Yes. Councilor Weber, yes. And Councilor Worrell. Yes. Councilor Worrell, yes. Docket number 0559 has received a unanimous vote in the affirmative.
Thank you. Docket number 0559 has been adopted. We are now moving on to green sheets. Is anyone looking to pull anything from green sheets? We are now moving on to late files. I am informed by the clerk that there are 5 late file matters, 3 personnel orders, and 2 letters of appointment. We will take a vote to add these matters to the agenda. All those in favor of adding the late file matters say aye. All opposed say nay. Thank you. The late file matters have been added to the agenda. Mr. Clerk, please read the first late file matter into the record.
First late file matter, letter from the Mayor, Michelle Wu. Dear councilors, I transmit herewith for your approval an order regarding the appointment of Susan Gilganian of 1162 Romsey Street, number 2, Boston, Mass. 02125 as a commissioner of the Boston Landmarks Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2024. And the second late file matter from the mayor as well. Dear councilors, I transmit herewith for your approval an order regarding the appointment of Susan Gilganian of 1162 Romsey Street, number 2, Boston, Mass. 02125 as a member of the Fort Point Channel District Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Mr. Clerk, could you please read the entirety of the letter? I believe is there more to that letter? Let me see. And just the rest of it.
Or as well on both letters, I transmit this late filing so the Fort Channel Landmark District Commission may have a quorum for voting purposes, and the same for the Boston Landmarks Commission.
Thank you. The chair moves for passage of these two late file matters. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. These late file matters have been adopted. And Mr. Clerk, we are putting those in committee, both of those late file matters. I believe, I apologize. Those dockets need to be placed in committee because I believe there's a need for a quorum, and those commissions currently do not have a quorum. The Planning, Development, and Transportation Committee is having a hearing on both of those, on those appointments. I believe is it on Monday. So we want those appointments to be part of that hearing order. I believe they wanted to have a committee, yeah, so let's send those both to committee. That's probably it. Okay, yep, okay. Thank you, Councilor Durkin. Instead of passage, those two late file matters will be referred to committee so that they can be heard as part of the appointments hearing in the Planning, Development, and Transportation Committee on Monday. Mr. Clerk, will you please read the remaining late file matters into the record?
Third late file matter is a personnel order filed by Councilor Lujan for Councilor Mejia. Fourth late file matter is a personnel order, Councilor Lujan for Councilor Fernandez Anderson. And the fifth late file order is a personnel order, Councilor Lujan for Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
The chair moves for passage of these late file matters. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. These late file personnel orders have been adopted. We are now moving on to the consent agenda. I've been informed by the clerk that there are no additions to the consent agenda. The question now comes on approval of the various matters contained within the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Thank you. The consent agenda has been adopted. We are now on to announcements. Please remember that these are for upcoming dates and events. I'll state, and we stated this last week, Saturday, March 23rd, which is this Saturday, from 11 to 3. There's a youth jobs event for young kids at the Reggie Lewis Center. So make sure that we continue to share that. I think folks uploaded it here already, but want to say congratulations to the BLS hockey team, the New Mission basketball team, and the Charlestown basketball team. And I know that there are efforts to make sure that we celebrate them here in Chambers. And then I want to say happy birthday to Morgan White, the daughter of Anna White, who was also one of the essayist winners on Evacuation Day that we also celebrated. So happy birthday to your daughter, Anna. Yeah. And then I will turn it over to my colleagues. So Councillor Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm extending an invitation to next week's Lunch and Learn event. After next week's council meeting, there's a non-profit organisation called Ability Impact that does incredible work, evidence-based practice to prepare young people with special needs as they graduate and enter adult life. So they're going to come and do a presentation and tell us about the work and the research that they've done about how effective their work is. So thank you. Oh, so that'll be Lunch and Learn next week in the Curly Room after the council meeting.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councillor Coletta. Councillor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Of course, I just want to send out my congratulations to Charlestown High. They are basketball champions. Shout out to them. They're going to be brought in. Hopefully, they'll be able to make it, but making sure that they have a great time on behalf of the community, and I thank the community members who are organizing that now. I also want to give a shout out to my father, Ed Coletta. It's his birthday tomorrow. I credit him for my commitment to public service. He's a really wonderful guy, just a very lovely guy, and I want to thank him for his love, his support. Happy birthday, Dad. Love you.
Happy birthday to your dad. The chair recognizes Councilor Durkin. Councilor Durkin, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to remind my colleagues that Dana Farber will be having a lunch. Spinelli's from East Boston is going to be served in the Curly Room. And I know cancer touches and cancer care touches all of our lives and a lot of our constituents' lives. So they're going to be talking a little bit about their development project, but also what they feel like is the future of cancer care. So would love to see my colleagues there right after this meeting. And then I wanted to announce too that on Sunday, April 21st, Project Place is having their Climb for a Cause at Fenway Park. My office and I'll be raising money for that, but just wanted to invite my colleagues. Project Place does great work to end homelessness and to help low-income individuals in our neighborhoods. So just wanted to highlight that is Sunday, April 21st, and they are at $338,000 raised from their $500,000 goal. So would love to see some additional participation for my colleagues. It would be great to be with you all at Fenway Park. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Durkin. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. My happy birthday to my first cousin, Richard Altieri. He is making me so proud because he just had his first son, and he's like one of my youngest cousins. But fun fact, I have about 97 first cousins. He's especially very, very close to me because he's old enough to be my son. So happy birthday, Richard, and we love you. Also, don't forget next Wednesday, Kriala Day, which is Cape Verdean Women Day brunch. From 9:30 to 12. It's going to be music, fun, and dancing, and culture, and a whole bunch of stuff. So please help me honor Cape Verde women downstairs in the mezzanine, and I'll be sending you guys flyers soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. The chair recognizes Councilor Flynn. Councilor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to rise for a minute to both highlight and congratulate the 2024 Division II state champion Boston Latin hockey team. The 11th ranked Wolfpack had a thrilling come-from-behind 4-2 victory Sunday night against the #1 seed in league rival Tewksbury in front of a packed crowd at the Boston Garden, scoring 3 goals in the last 4 minutes to win in an exciting finish. Their fans stayed late with puck drop well after 9 p.m. and were well rewarded to watch this historic victory after 11 p.m. These city kids dealt with a lot of adversity, not only with the late start and playing against the top-ranked teams in the state, but all season long. They lost players to both prep school before the season, and several of them throughout the season had injuries and were out of action for a long period of time. But the Latin school kids showed their heart and toughness, winning 10 out of their last 11 games in a historic run, including exciting playoff games against Westwood, Billerica in overtime, Concord Kyle, and Duxbury on the road to the Garden. I know that because my son, Stephen, a Boston Latin athlete in baseball, was at all of the games. So I just want to congratulate the team and all the Wolfpack alum who are enjoying this victory, including my Chief of Staff, Charlie Levin, who also served and continues to serve as an assistant hockey coach for the last 14 years after playing there 5 years, and was captain of the team, went on to the Garden in 2001. We are currently working with the players and coaches, our athletic director, Boston Latin School, and other counselors as well. I'm looking forward, and my colleagues as well, on the council to host them at the council tentatively on Wednesday, April 10th with a pizza party or reception. We are also coordinating with State House colleagues as well. Congratulations again. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and congratulations to Charlie, and go Wolfpack. Councilor Pepin? Oh, is that you? Okay. I was like, who? I can't listen. Councilor Pepin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to extend the congratulations to the New Mission High School basketball team who also won their state championships. They are a great pride of Hyde Park, so shout out to the boys. But also a happy early birthday to my son, Enrique Jr., who will be 1 year old on Monday. I'm a proud dad, and so proud of him already, although he's just a little one, but as a father, I'm just proud, so happy birthday.
Thank you, Councilor Pepen, and happy birthday to Enrique Jr. The chair recognizes Councilor Fitzgerald. Councilor Fitzgerald, you now have the floor.
Thank you. Very quickly, I know with all the championships, there's actually more. We have the Cathedral girls basketball in the South End. They won their Division IV state championship. They've now won 6 out of the last 9 years, making them officially a dynasty.
Wow.
And so I just want to make sure we include them as we do the rest of these things as well. Thank you.
Okay, great. I know that there's been discussion.
Yeah.
We want to celebrate all of our winners and
Exactly.
make space for Charlestown and for New Mission. So we've been talking to those counselors, make sure that we make space and are able to elevate them as well. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you. Really quick, I forgot to tell you guys that 32BJ is actually holding an iftar at the mosque, the big mosque, ISPCC, 100 Malcolm X Boulevard. So thank you, Pablo Ruiz, for putting this together. It's also like the ride share justice bill iftar dinner. I don't know what that means, but Muslims won't mix the whole like iftar thing with the ride share, but really appreciate it. Go 32BJ, and I just really wanted to say, a heartfelt thank you so much, because this is one of the first. Like I haven't seen the people in general, like organizations, unions, really take interest in the Islamic community like this. So this is one of the first, and I know that they're doing it in solidarity with the people in Palestine. So I appreciate it. And if you guys have time, for the ladies, if you want me to help you put on your hijab, be happy to. So looking forward to iftar later tonight. Thank you.
It's today. I was asking for the date and time and the location.
Oh, yes. So today at 6:30, sorry, I didn't say what iftar is. Iftar is when we break fast, when we eat at sundown.
So 6:30 and where at the ISBCC?
Yes, 100 Malcolm X Boulevard.
In Roxbury, right by
In
Roxbury.
Yeah, so basically at 6:30, you don't have to everybody's dressed appropriately, so you don't have to change. Just go by 6:30 and ask for the 32BJ iftar. Again, it's like when we eat, so it's going to be like a huge feast and probably like hundreds or if not thousands of people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. And I know that the city is hosting a community iftar this Friday at City Hall as well at 6 p.m. Also wanted to put on everyone's radar, we're having a Women's History Month reception on Monday. My office sent an email about it at 1 p.m. on Monday. So if you can make it, if you want to honor someone, we welcome you to do so. And I also wanted to shout out Norleen St. Germain. She's a friend, and she's also my hairdresser, and she celebrated her 40th birthday. So happy birthday to Norleen. We are now moving on to memorials. And if anybody would like to speak on anyone who has passed, this is, I want to make sure we do it here in memorials and not in announcements. This is a better place. So I just wanted to take the moment to remember 2 people. Barbara Walker, who's the oldest of 7, moved to Boston when she was 2 years old, attending Boston Public Schools, including Madison Park High School. She died last year, but I want to honor her now, and I'll explain why. She had her first child at 18 and 4 children in total before going to work at the Dimick Center, where she helped homeless families and eventually leading a team of 18 people. Even after retiring, she helped at the 2 Life Communities complex in Brighton, pushing for better housing for seniors. She fought for love and life and always shared and cared without regrets. This past Monday, I believe, Councilors Braden, myself, and Councilor Mejia were in Brighton for the ribbon cutting of the new J.J. Carroll House. And Barbara Walker was such a fierce advocate. I had the opportunity to visit there 2 years ago and met her and spent about an hour in her apartment. And she was such a bright advocate, and I hadn't been made aware that she had passed. So I just want to make sure I uplift her for the work that she did. And I also want to remember Dr. Alice Kidder. who is a big community advocate who recently passed away. She spent her life leading on social justice, homelessness, and anti-poverty issues in our city and in Greater Boston. She was a teacher, researcher, leader, and true bridge builder who worked tirelessly across economic, religious, racial, and ethnic lines. There are so many people. Her husband, David Kidder, she served as the board of directors for Solutions at Work, a cooperative metropolitan ministries, and she just did so much here in the Greater Boston area. Former Councilor Charles Yancey actually gave her a day in March 20th, 2015, recognized her and her leadership. So just wanted to give my condolences to the Kidder family and to remember Dr. Alice Kidder for not only her day in the city of Boston, but for all the incredible work that she did. So today we will adjourn our meeting in memory of the following individuals. For council, and I just want to make sure no one else wanted to speak on anyone. For Councilor Coletta Rose Pugliese, for myself, Dr. Alice Kidder, for myself and Councilors Braden, Barbara Walker, for the entire Boston City Council, Cassandra Queen Gunter, sister of Lisa Searcy. A moment of silence, please. The chair moves that when the council adjourns today, it does so in memory of the aforementioned individuals. The council is scheduled to meet again in the Ionella Chamber on Wednesday, March 27, 2024 at noon. Thank you to my colleagues, to central staff, to the clerk and the clerk's office, and the council stenographer. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. The council is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.